Hello, good afternoon, Yaoundé. You are on to the news. The frequency is 88.4 FM. Let's have the headlines. Cameroon has successfully reduced its interest rate burden through a strategic euro-dollar currency swap. And according to experts in economy, the financial maneuver bolstered by the fixed parity between the CFA francs and the euro is designed to alleviate several pressing economic challenges.
Using this advantage, Cameroon can borrow in euros at a much lower rate than it could borrow in dollars directly.
Out of the country, the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo has outlined several non-negotiable preconditions for a potential national dialogue. Should the talks proceed, the intent of the dialogue would be to resolve the nation's escalating security and political crisis. In sports, relegated Bambutus FC of Mbuda made the headlines for the wrong reasons in the Elite 2 Championship after the club took to the pitch with only 8 players, a number that was eventually dwindled to 6 and forced the match to an abrupt end. You have the headlines. Stay with me for the news in better details. Good afternoon once more. You are on to the 2 p.m. news on Reality 8.4 FM. We begin the news in politics, where the announcement of a government reshuffle by President Paul Biya in his December 31st, 2025 speech to the nation has been pending for a month. The silence observed by Cameroonians after this revelation has raised so many questions regarding their expectations and enthusiasm for a new government. To this effect, our reporter Glory Ngange interviewed some citizens and compiled their reactions in this report.
Since the announcement for the formation of a new government by the head of state, millions of citizens have been projecting how the new cabinet will look like, but the wait for the presidential action is getting longer than expected, as these Cameroonians voice out.
1 month back, nothing has been realized. Young Cameroonians will be asking what will he tell them on the 10th of February 2026 when 2 striking promises have been made without any being accomplished.
President Paul Biya said what all Cameroonians were waiting for him to say. Even though we were waiting for him to do something, he instead said something, but he's not doing it.
The declaration, which was the first in his ongoing more than 43 years of leadership, took Cameroonians by surprise, and many, like Godwill, are hoping that the reshufflement will also come as a surprise.
The president is a man of surprises, a man of wisdom, and he often does things in a fashion that nobody expects. It came first of all as a surprise that for the first time he announced that there was going to be a cabinet reshufflement. Following that line of being unpredictable, he is keeping people on their toes and doesn't want people to know exactly when the cabinet reshufflement is going to take place. But I believe that eventually it's going to take place.
To others, the long wait is a reflection of a government that is used to acting beyond deadlines and most at times do not act at all.
He has played his role as head of state of this country for the past 4 decades. It is time for him to quit the scene. A 94-year-old man cannot think normally like you and I, as we see at the moment. I can only say that it is God that is governing this country.
It shows how slow we are in taking decisions, how slow we are in executing the decisions that we take. We have to get up from slumber and act.
Among the several promises made by President Paul Biya in his end of 2025 address to Cameroonians, the new government has been on the lips of citizens, as the head of state highlighted it was a real commitment to improve their living conditions.
And in the same vein, while bearing in mind that it is now 1 month since the head of state, President Paul Biya, announced he will be reshuffling his government, the political scene has since then been left in anticipation and expectation. In the report that follows, Evans William Jobati caught up with some political actors and observers and got their reactions for the news.
During his traditional December 31st end-of-year speech, Paul Biya reassured Cameroonians that a new government will be set up in no time. Just like residents in Cameroon, everyone is still hoping for the D-Day to come. To Thomas Ako, a militant from the Popular Action Party, the problem is the whole regime, not some individuals.
It is about the system, the CPT. It is about President Paul Biya. The main person that Cameroonians want him to go is President Paul Biya, not the minister. The problems in Cameroon is President Paul Biya and the CPT, the people he has selected to form his government. These are the people creating all the artificial problems in Cameroon. I call them artificial because poverty in Cameroon is artificial.
On his part, Kininsom, political observer and publisher of the Post newspaper, it is a situation of maintaining the status quo.
The forces within the government circles that are for the status quo are stronger than those who are yearning for change. It corroborates already predictions by people who said that nothing was going to change after President Biya took another term. So it shows that the forces of radical insistence are weaker than the forces of conservative resistance. The coming days became the coming weeks, and the coming weeks are becoming months. Very soon it become years.
In accordance with that, political analyst Song Derrick reveals the tensions over these ministerial adjustments have reached a fever peak, with some government administrators in public conflicting.
This government was not designed for urgency. If urgency was a priority, the government would already be in place. But urgency is not a priority in this government. They want to maintain the status quo. We're already beginning to see that there's a lot of tension in the system where there's high instruction from a head of state. The prime minister does this, the next morning another instruction is given. Months after end of year speech, we are still fingers crossed. Perhaps maybe during his youth day address or before the youth day address, we are expecting to hear that president has put in place a new government.
As the legislative and municipal elections are gradually gaining grounds, the political scene is just keeping its fingers crossed.
Evans Williams Jobati in that report, and we remain in politics, where the Movement for Patriotism and the People's Prosperity Party, known as the MP3 political party, has officially launched its regional activities at the Federation of the Forest Zone, which comprises of the Center, East and South region. The launch featured a diverse program including a friendly football match and a roundtable discussion titled Women for Change. A highlight of this event was the official induction of new members who were presented with their membership cards. Jean-Baptiste Ayenamot, the party's communication officer, emphasized that the event serves as a fundamental step in strengthening the party's grassroots presence in the region. Here is an excerpt.
Just soon after our Congress, our first Congress in Bana, we had the reorganization of our party into different entities. And among the governing entities, we had the different federations. And one of them is the Federation of the Forest. So our aim today is to, first of all, bring all our sympathizers and militants from this federation, and then see on how we can plan our mandates that has been entrusted to us, and see how we can mobilize our supporters and sympathizers and prepare for the local elections coming very soon, and see into it that we have more acceptable number of elected members, and make sure that MP3 in the next presidential elections presents a presidential candidate.
During the launching ceremony, Bruce Stefan Tabet, the first vice president of the MP3 party, addressed the assembly with a clear mandate. He reminded supporters that the party's primary objective is to secure a decisive majority in the National Assembly.
This launching is to basically certify the vision of the macro state that we have, and we hope that all the coordinators and the governor will do a great job. Challenge are coming, as I said, is to register people. We think that the most important thing right now is to have the youth register, the women register. When we saw what happened at the last election, we realized that we didn't do very well because we didn't have enough people register. The people who were behind us were not the one who voted. So we need to change that. We need to have people register. So our priority is to register citizens. I myself, I think I'm going to be a candidate. For now, we are trying to have at least a parliamentary group in the National Assembly, because we just don't want to be figurants in the assembly. And the history teaches if you don't have 15 elected officials, you won't do much in the National Assembly. So,
any strategies that you have put up to have that?
Yes, we have strategy, but sorry if I don't put it out yet. But we have a strategy, and we think we can put it off.
Those excerpts were collected for us by staffman Abel Belasamari. And on to our headline story, Cameroon has obtained a reduction in interest rates thanks to a euro-dollar foreign exchange swap mechanism. This operation made possible by the fixed parity between the CFA franc and the euro is expected to solve various problems faced by our economy. But just how could this happen? Jeffrey Tachum interviewed an expert who explains the mechanism and why it matters. Here's his report.
Economists define the euro-dollar swap as a financial arrangement where currencies are exchanged temporarily, a mechanism that allows the country to access dollars at a lower cost than borrowing them directly on international markets. But then, what are its advantages on Cameroon economic landscape? Valerie Asundeb, economics expert, explains.
Cameroon benefits from this mechanism that was made possible by the CFA France fixed peg into the euro, where 1 euro was equals to 655 CFA. The CFA France is fully convertible into euros at this fixed rate, backed by the French Treasury.
Through the euro-dollar swap mechanism, Cameroon and other CIMAC countries have access to euro liquidity at a very low interest rate, close to the European Central Bank level, still according to Valerie Asundeb.
The fixed CFA euro peg is a cheap euro borrowing, and then you swap it into dollars for lower interest rate cost on debt. It then uses this currency swap between the euro and the dollar to convert that cheap euro funding into dollars when needed. For example, the 9.5%, which was much cheaper than the euro debt at 5 to 6%, significantly reducing its interest payment and improving debt stability.
And in a context of constant fluctuation of the dollar on international markets, often resulting to a drop in the value of most African currencies like the CFA francs, this reduction in interest rates is good news for the economist.
Using this advantage, Cameroon can borrow in euros at a much lower rate than it could borrow in dollars directly. It then uses this currency swap between the euro and the dollar to convert that cheap euro funding into dollars when needed. For example, to repay expensive dollar-denominated debt.
Therefore, Cameroon's use of the euro-dollar swap provides a welcome reduction in borrowing costs, helps the government manage liquidity more efficiently, while also offering temporary relief for public finance and creating room for critical spending.
Joining us, you are on to the 2 p.m. news on Reality 8.4 FM. The Mutual Assistance and Solidarity Program MASO has handed over 5 brand new automobiles to beneficiaries of MASO Act 5. The ceremony took place on Friday at the Mimboman Agency of the Renapro Finance SA. Abel Bela Samari, Director of Information at Royal FM, covered the events and files in the following report.
The handing over of 5 automobiles form part of the Mutual Assistance and Solidarity MASO ongoing action to provide tangible and productive access to its mutualists. The vehicles, intended primarily for commercial use, particularly in the transport sector, were awarded to beneficiaries of Act 5 of the Mutual Assistance and Solidarity MASO. This initiative aimed to enable beneficiaries to generate sustainable income, provide their financial autonomy, and enhance their socio-economic integration. The ceremony was conducted in a formal and transparent manner following opening remarks by representatives of Renapro Finance SA and the Mutual Assistance and Solidarity MASO. The objective of the program emphasizing the values of mutual assistance, solidarity, and collective growth. The official handing over of vehicles keys symbolized the institution's commitment to transforming mutual assistance and solidarity into concrete opportunity for its members. The event also served as a platform to encourage other mutualists to remain engaged in the Mutual Assistance and Solidarity MASO program and to reinforce confidence in Renapro Finance SA social vision. During the ceremony, several mutualists expressed their joy and satisfaction with the initiative, highlighting the positive impact of MASO on their life and family. Their reactions reflect gratitude to renewed trust in the institution. Balowa Oscar is one of the beneficiaries.
I needed something like a car, not to be moving around, making cars from people. I'm very happy that today God has made it is mine. So I'm happy. So I have to fight my best so that I will fit my body with my family. Then I pay back the money from where the money came from. The 100 that people have been contributed.
Balewa Oscar goes further to call on other drivers and mutualists to register massively into the Mutual Assistance and Solidarity Maso.
La Maso is real. All my colleagues out there, time is 100 francs per day. You come and contribute. At the end of the year, you can be a lucky winner like me. Thank La Maso.
This lady who accompanied the husband, a beneficiary to the ceremony, could not hide her joy.
I'm with Lindis Lenyoy from Kumbu. I'm so happy. It's like a dream come true. I really thank God for what He has done in our lives. And I pray that God who has given us will make a way for us so that we can be able to pay back as it is, so that the cash will be our own.
Even onlookers too had something to say.
I'm a mutualist of Mimbuman agency, so the ceremonies were taking place in our agency. So I had to come and witness. I did not come as a doubting Thomas because I already know that it's real. So I came to clap for those who have won. So I think that maybe Act 6 I'll win something.
The handing over of 5 automobiles at the Mimbuman agency of Renapo Finance SA represents a significant milestone in the implementation of MASO. It illustrates Renapo Finance SA's commitment to economic empowerment, social solidarity and sustainable development of its mutualists. This initiative not only benefits the direct recipients but also reinforces trust in the institution and supports its strategic objective of combining financial performance with social impact.
Let's head into the society where a dramatic scene that unfolded in a marital home in Yaoundé has gone viral, where a woman was seen violently assaulting a naked woman, allegedly her husband's mistress, after she caught them in an act on their marital bed. The incident raises questions about how the Cameroon law handles crimes of adultery and assault. Our reporter Ngang Nadej had a chat with a legal mind and put together the following report.
According to Nelson Lambris, the initial focus falls on the individual who recorded and disseminated the video, which is a breach of privacy laws.
First thing first is who actually sent the video viral on social media. If that person is being discovered, I think the law is going to take its course in order to punish that person, because it is known in legal terms as public insanity. And if this person is being discovered, then the person will be punished accordingly.
He adds that the legitimate wife's strong recourse would have been to pursue a divorce on the grounds of adultery.
For a woman to come and see the husband with another woman in the matrimonial bed and then take the laws into her hands, she is not the law. There are proceedings and process in which she can actually handle that matter. That is suing for a divorce, because it is evident that there was extramarital activities with the husband. That is, there was adultery. And if that is being established, and then a divorce will not be delayed.
If proven, the wife's actions could lead to charges for assault, and cybercrime, as taking the law into her own hands, is not a valid defense.
But if you do what you're supposed to do by beating up the woman and then sending her naked videos on social media, and then the woman herself will be punished for doing what is called, like I earlier said, public insanity. But this needs to be established beyond reasonable doubt that there was no influence of any other person asking her to do what she did.
Barrister Nelson Lambris concludes by adding that the man involved is not exempted from consequences, as his actions are liable to civil liabilities.
And then the husband too will be punished for committing adultery, but it would not be a criminal act but a civil act, and the punishment can only be the pronouncement of a divorce.
Social media has become a breeding ground for public spectacle, underscoring how it accelerates the spread of raw, unfiltered content.
We stay in the society to say that the phenomenon of ex-convicts returning to prison is becoming redundant, a complex issue driven by a combination of systematic barriers, personal challenges, and in many cases, a failure of the rehabilitation system. In line with this, Frinu Crispin, head of Reporters Brigade, interviewed a sociologist to understand the phenomenon and now reports.
It is very difficult for ex-convicts to keep away their bad habits of committing crimes, reason why they mostly end up returning to jail. Ngwenye Victorine.
It is not as if they didn't learn anything from prison, but this is a habit, and habits, they have to be fought because habits are something that they will always be recurrent. It is difficult to fight a habit despite all the maltreatment, despite all the punishment that is in the prison. We find that most convicts, when they come out of prisons, from their prison cells, it is as if they have not learned anything. They want to go back. I don't know whether it is at the back of their mind, they want to feel that they have become autonomous.
Moreover, the lack of employment after being released from prison is another factor that favors the chances of ex-convicts to return to prison.
Ex-convicts, they are always going back to prison because when they came out of that prison, there was nothing for them to do apart from what they were usually doing. If there was some other job to actually accommodate them, they will not go back to prison. They go back because when they come out, they don't have anything doing, and they just go on doing what they were doing before, and that takes them back to prison.
However, the sociologists attest that unemployment must not be the reason why they re-involve themselves in crimes, several traits while in prison.
First of all, when they are there in prison, it's not as if they don't do anything. They learn a lot. There is handwork in prison that they learn. They learn to fabricate things. They could come out and steal and dive into some sector where they could help themselves. But just as I say, old habits die hard. They need to work a lot.
The experts also seized the opportunity to plead with the government to put in place measures for the establishment of more rehabilitation centers in order to support these individuals in finding a stand in the society.
And from Frino Crispin, let's now find out what is making news around the world with our senior reporter and editor-in-chief, Mapala Zita. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Brian.
DR Congo's president has outlined preconditions for a national dialogue, as you highlight.
Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi has reaffirmed his commitment to inclusive and peaceful dialogue between all people of the DR Congo. In a New Year's address to the diplomatic corps on Saturday, the Congolese leader said national unity was more than ever a fundamental requirement. His comment comes as fighting continues in the east of the country between the army and M23 rebels. Tshisekedi, however, set out conditions for the dialogue to take place, including that the process must take place on home soil and under institutional control. He also added that the process should not call into question his legitimacy or that of the institutions elected by universal suffrage, reassuring Congolese that 2026 would be a decisive year for the DR Congo.
In Niger, a jihadist group has released videos it claims shows attacks on the Niamey air base.
The so-called Islamic State released a video on Sunday saying it's its attack on an Air Force base in Niger's capital, Niamey. The footage was aired by the Amak news agency, which is part of the jihadist group's propaganda wing. The video purports to show an explosion inside a hangar housing a helicopter and another aircraft on fire. Gunfire also damaged several passenger planes. 4 soldiers were injured and several aircraft damaged in the assault on the Niamey airport, which is a strategic hub that hosts the military bases, the headquarters of the Niger-Burkina Faso-Mali Joint Force, and a large uranium stockpile at the center of a disputed French nuclear company, Orano. State television reported that government forces responded quickly to the assault, killing 20 of the attackers and arresting 11 others.
Before you go, what other news stories do you have from across the globe?
Nigerian music legend Fela Kuti has become the first African to get Grammy's Lifetime Achievement Award. Long crowned by his legion of fans as the king of Afrobeat, the late Fela Kuti will posthumously receive a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Grammys almost 3 decades after his death at the age of 58. According to his musician son Sean Kuti, this award is bringing balance to Fela's story. Over in China, 4 people have been executed or found guilty of causing 6 Chinese citizens' death and running scam and gambling operations out of Myanmar worth over $4 billion. The Shenzhen Intermediate People's Court in southern China announced the execution earlier today, but did not specify the timing of the execution. And then right-wing candidate Laura Fernandez has declared victory in Costa Rica's presidential election after preliminary results gave her a commanding lead, while her closest challenger has conceded defeat. The move early today came after the Supreme Electoral Tribunal said the votes tallied from 81% of polling stations show that Laura Fernandez's party is winning 48.9% of the votes already.
We now talk sports, where the Elite 2 Championship kicked off over the weekend in stadiums across the country. In results recorded, Kumba City FC beat Bafmen United in an English derby staged in the town of Kumba. FAP beat Ngokitunja United by 2-0. Union of Douala played a 1-1 draw with Astro Football Club of Douala, while Antique Sports Academy of Kribi and Eding Sport of Laleke separated on a 1-1 draw. The fixture between Avion Academy and Bambutus FC of Mbuda ended abruptly after Bambutus FC started a set encounter with 8 players and were eventually reduced to 6 players due to injuries, forcing an early whistle. And from there, in the Elite 2 Championship match day 2 games were staged over the weekend, where Dinamo Football Club of Douala beat Victoria United of Limbe by 3-1. AS Fortuna Omfu and Eglo Royal of Menwa separated on a 0-0 draw. Unisport of Bafang and Panther played a 0-0 draw. Fulfazu Elite of Yaoundé beat their regional rivals Canon Sportif of Yaoundé by 1-0. Gazelle beat Colombe Sportif by 2-1. Kotong Sport and Eglo of Mongo played a 0-0 draw in advanced fixtures, while PWD of Baminda beat Star Renard of Melong by 4-1. Here is an excerpt of the head coach Tamawango and the Lord Mayor of the Baminda One Council, Binga Felix.
We are very happy because they repeated most of the things that we do during our training sessions. Scored 4 goals and conceded 1. We are happy about that, and we hope that we'll keep working so that they can repeat what they did here this afternoon in our next game.
If you look at the population here today, this is my joy. Football has returned back in the Northwest region, and this has helped to come back with the peace that we've been looking for.
From there, we now, without any transition, we now take a summary of this newscast in French language to be presented for us by Olivier Ndemaipo. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Brian. Mutuelle d'assistance et de solidarité Masso, les mutualistes bénéficiaires à l'acte 5 de matériel roulant, notamment des véhicules taxis, ont reçu vendredi dernier leur lot. C'était à l'occasion d'une cérémonie officielle qui s'est déroulée à l'agence Renapro Finance SA du quartier Mimboman. Les récipiendaires avaient été tirés au sort le 5 juillet dernier au stade Omnisport de Mfandena à Yaoundé. Hors de nos frontières, en République démocratique du Congo, RDC, le chef de l'État, Félix Tshisekedi, s'est dit ouvert à un dialogue national entre acteurs de la scène politique congolaise. Toutefois, le successeur de Joseph Kabila fixe des conditions quant à sa faisabilité. Le dialogue national doit se dérouler sous contrôle institutionnel et sur le sol congolais. Félix Tshisekedi l'a affirmé lors de la cérémonie de présentation de ses vœux au corps diplomatique accrédité à RD Congo. C'était le 31 janvier dernier. Sport pour finir, football. La deuxième journée du championnat Elite One 2026 s'est achevée le week-end dernier. Voici les résultats acquis sur les aires de jeu. Canon 0, Faux Vazur 1, Dynamo de Douala 3, Victoria United 1, PWD de Baminda 4, Stade Renard de Melon 1, AS Fortuna d'Onfou 0, Aigle de la Menois 0, Unisport du Honkan 0, Panthère du Ndé 0. Mercredi dernier en avancée, Coton Sport et Aigle du Mungo avaient fait jeu égal, 0 but partout. Gazelle de Garoua était venu à bout de Colombe du Sud, 2 buts à 1.
And it is with that summary from Olivier Ndemaipo that we have reached the end of today's edition of the 2 p.m. news over Reality 8.4 FM. The news was a success thanks to the technical expertise of Yurish Kimwe. Just behind him on the cameras, we had Brian Bida on the cameras for our various social media handles. Production assistance coming from Frinu Crispin and Jeffrey Tachum. For script editing, Mapala Zita. Editorial coaching was done for us by Abel Belasamari. Coordination we got from the station's manager Roger Kiek. For general supervision, the Reverend Pastor Bisai Emmanuel Noel. For presentation, my name is Biwa Brian. Setting up the stage for what's coming up next on Royal FM, which is part 2 of Fresher Royal. She's here, Raisa Parker.
Hello. Hello, Biwa Brian.
Happy New Month.
Encore. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
So, part
2 of Fresher Royal. On va revenir sur les thématiques sur la table. Jusqu'où une femme peut pardonner l'infidélité de son partenaire. On a eu énormément de réactions en première partie. Si le temps nous le permet, on va remettre cela. Voilà.
Infidèle.
Ah, you are faithful.
Yes.
Ok, c'est bien. La deuxième thématique parle de ses parents. Voilà, si vous avez un enfant adulte chez vous, est-ce qu'un parent doit continuer à surveiller cet enfant, un enfant de 21 ans et plus, qui vit encore sous votre toit? Est-ce que vous pouvez entrer dans sa chambre sans permission? Est-ce que vous pouvez fouiller dans ses affaires, fouiller dans son téléphone? Je crois que l'intimité d'un enfant qui vit chez son parent encore, est-ce que ça a encore droit de citer? On en parlera tout à l'heure. On aura la page pratique avec Dorine à 14h passées de 45 minutes.
You heard it from her, ladies and gentlemen. Make it an appointment. Good night.